Shen Yunzhi was once lost in the fog of love. She mistook a scumbag for her true love, but she severely injured Runze, who was sincere to her. However, fate gave her a chance to come back again. In this life, she was determined to use all her love to make up for her past mistakes. After sending the message, she stayed at home, waiting for her husband to come back. But I just separated from A's in the morning, and now I really miss him so much. She sent a message to Runze. A's, when will you get off work? Everyone in the conference room was feeling the stern aura of their boss when suddenly someone's cell phone rang. Who on earth was it? How dare they not turn off the mute function during the meeting? The employees at the meeting were so nervous that they were sweating. The king of hell on the main seat glanced down at his mobile phone, and the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously. His smile scared everyone present. Yan Chen was no longer surprised by this. He knew without a doubt that it was his wife who had sent a message to the young master. Alas, the CEO's love affair could no longer be concealed. Take a 10-minute break. As the man sitting in the main seat walked out of the conference room, everyone finally let out a sigh of relief. What happened to the president? I actually saw him smile. Could it be that there is someone you like? Everyone's eyes involuntarily focused on Yan Chen. Why are you looking at me? Go ask the president. Yan Chen didn't want to say it, but the matter of announcing the identity of his wife should be left to his young master. After all, his possessiveness is so strong. Runze saw her message and called her directly. Aji, I haven't seen you for just a few hours, and you miss me already? Yes, don't you miss me? She replied with a smile. Think. Very much. Very much. Aji, you won't leave me, will you? Listening to his cautious words, my heart began to ache again. He still felt insecure and was always worried that I would leave him, but I had plenty of time to reassure him. Of course not. I'm still waiting for you to come back for dinner. Honey, what do you want to eat? It was the first time she called her husband so solemnly after her rebirth, and her face turned red with embarrassment. Runze had an expression of surprise on his face, and only he knew how happy he was at that moment. Can I eat anything? Yeah, as long as you say it, I can satisfy you. She didn't think much about it, she just wanted to try her best to satisfy him whatever he wanted. When Runze heard her answer, he wanted to go back immediately and stay by her side so that no one could see him. I like everything my wife makes. The word wife made her blush. Thinking back to last night, she said, I'll hang up first. Hearing the girl's flustered tone, the man was pleased with her. When I returned to the conference room, I didn't know if it was an illusion or something, but I felt that the temperature in the entire conference room had risen. The air seemed to be able to be breathed normally. This report, the supervisor who was reporting was so frightened when he heard the voice of his CEO that his legs went limp. He had already thought about the worst possible outcome for the rest of his life. Fine. The supervisor was stunned when he heard this, but he reacted immediately. Thank you, President. I will definitely continue to work hard. At this moment, everyone was envious of the manager's luck. He actually received praise from the president. It was really something he had never seen before. What was even more shocking was that no matter whether the reports from the next few people were good or bad, the president did not even curse. How come he was possessed by another spirit after only 10 minutes of rest? Seeing everyone's shocked expressions, only Yan Chen understood that the president was not possessed by another body, but his soul was actually taken away. At the moment, Runze was just worried. Usually he felt that he forgot everything once he started working. How come he had been in a meeting for such a long time today, and it was not time to get off work yet? It was so annoying. That's all for today, meeting adjourned. He strode into his office. Seeing his impatient look, Yan Chen felt ashamed for his own CEO. Yan Chen, come in, I have something to tell you. Strange, how could it be related to me? Yan Chen walked in confused. Today's work is almost done, why not go home? Yan Chen looked at his boss' serious expression and suddenly couldn't help wanting to tease him. But President, we usually come down to work overtime. Working overtime? Do you know how much time is wasted working overtime? It will delay the happiness of many people. Forget it, I can't explain it to you even if I tell you, I'm single. At this moment, Yanqin just wanted to talk about who he had provoked. Is it wrong to be single? You are not single, you are noble. Since you are single, you can stay and work overtime. You are the boss, and you are noble. Fu Runze was hugged by Shen Yunzhi as soon as he arrived home. You're back. Eat quickly. She excitedly took Fu Runze's hand and walked to the dining table. Seeing his favorite dishes on the table, he couldn't help but smile. It seems that our Aji has done a lot of homework. Shen Yunzhi paused after hearing his words. She had indeed asked Aunt Lin about his favorite dishes, but she blamed herself for paying too little attention to him in her previous life. From now on, as long as you like it, I will be satisfied. Seeing her suddenly serious expression, Fu Runze couldn't help but kiss her. This time the kiss was fierce, as if the whole world was going to fall apart. It wasn't until Shen Yunzhi was completely out of breath that Fu Runze was willing to let her go. Shen Yunzhi saw the strong lust in his eyes, and her face couldn't help but blush. Eat first. She was about to pick up food for Fu Runze with evasive eyes. Fu Runze saw that the little girl was thin-skinned and did not tolerate teasing, but now he couldn't help but want to tease her. I don't want to eat right now. I just want to eat you. He looked directly at Shen Yunzhi, and all the inappropriate thoughts in his heart were written on his face at this moment. No, I just did it last night. Shen Yunzhi said with a flushed face. Not to mention we haven't eaten yet. Not eating is very harmful to the body. As if to make her refusal more direct, the little girl added something more. Seeing the shy look on the little girl's face, Fu Runze didn't force anything at the moment. There was no rush, they had plenty of time. Okay, let's eat first. Seeing that he didn't seem to emphasize the matter anymore, the little girl finally started eating with confidence. Fu Runze didn't care how she understood his words at the moment, he would always seek benefit for himself anyway. The little girl was probably hungry at the moment, and she was only focused on the exquisite dishes in front of her. In the middle of the journey, Aunt Lin took a peek at the relationship between the young master and his wife. This was incredible, and she looked like a sheep entering a tiger's mouth. The young master's eyes are so cannibalistic. It seems that the young master's arrival is not far away. Fu Runze looked at the little woman in front of him eating with a satisfied expression, touching his swollen belly and smiling innocently. Are you full? Is it my turn? Shen Yunzhi looked at him confused. Didn't they eat together? Where is the question of whether it should be done or not? Looking at Fu Runze's face, she suddenly understood the cannibalistic look in his eyes. At this moment, she could only deal with it for a while. It wasn't because she was unwilling, but because this man's physical strength was so good that she really felt that she couldn't bear it. Aren't you full? Then I'll eat with you for a while. After saying that, Shen Yunzhi put a bunch of vegetables into Fu Runze's bowl. There's actually another way to feed me. Fu Runze did not obey Shen Yunzhi's words at this moment. When he saw the little woman blushing, his body couldn't help but react. Before Shen Yunzhi could say anything, he couldn't wait to carry her to the bedroom. Seeing that this bitch was about to succeed, Shen Yunzhi decided to think about her waist. No, you didn't just. She pushed Fu Runze's chest with her hands, but the man didn't take it seriously. That seems that I can only eat it by pretending to be pitiful. So a certain dog CEO started a series of shameless speeches. But I feel so uncomfortable. I will definitely be gentle this time. Looking at the hesitant expression on Shen Yunzhi's face, it seemed that the temptation was not excessive enough. You just said that as long as I like it, you will be satisfied. Just once, okay? Baby, please. Seeing Fu Runze acting coquettishly, how could Shen Yunzhi endure it? All she could think about was him. Give him whatever he wants, but she still retained a shred of reason. Just once. Seeing Shen Yunzhi finally relenting, Fu Runze couldn't care less about what he just said. How could he let her run away with the baby in his mouth? Hearing Shen Yunzhi's voice of consent, Fu Runze carried Shen Yunzhi into the bedroom without saying a word. Shen Yunzhi suddenly remembered that she wanted to go back to see her grandfather, so she might as well say it now, so as not to be tormented by this bitch later and become exhausted again. I'm going back to see Grandpa tomorrow. Can you stay with me? Fu Runze looked at the little woman under him. Her black hair made her skin white, and her eyes looked at him expectantly. Fu Runze wanted to give her his life. But when I heard the little girl say that she wanted to go home, I couldn't help but think of the sad things in the past. In the past, his little girl was never willing to take him home. This time the little girl took the initiative to speak, which made him very happy. Are you sure you want to take me home? It's not about going home, it's about going back. For me, the place with A's is home. I no longer care about that so-called family. It's just that my grandpa is very good to me, and I always feel uneasy. Seeing the little girl say that she no longer cared about that family with a nonchalant expression, Fu Run's heart felt like a knife. He knew how important family affection was to a person, but for someone as kind-hearted as his little girl to say such helpless words, it seemed that this family had really hurt her. Okay, I will go back with you tomorrow. If we don't want to go, we won't go. I really can't worry about Grandpa, so let's take Grandpa over. Shen Yunzhi looked at this man who was all about himself, and felt even more that she was really blind in her previous life. She also felt that she must treat Fu Runze well in this life and try to satisfy him no matter what he wanted. At this moment, he even forgot that Fu Runze wanted to eat him. He actually raised his hand to hook Fu Runze's neck and kissed him directly on the lips. Fu Runze felt Shen Yunzhi's initiative and worked hard to serve her. Until the person beneath him could not help but start begging for mercy. Thinking that he would accompany Shen Yunzhi back to that place the next day, he restrained himself a little. Seeing Shen Yunzhi almost falling asleep in the car, Fu Runze couldn't help but fall into thinking. He was obviously very restrained. But he still wanted to die and asked Shen Yunzhi. Aji, did you not sleep well last night? You still have the nerve to say it, but you know exactly who gave this to you. After Shen Yunzhi said this, she was furious. She raised her legs and wanted to kick Fu Runze twice. Fu Runze saw her thoughts, grabbed her feet and pulled her to him. Sorry baby, I won't do this next time. Baby, please forgive me. Seeing Fu Runze's sincere face, Shen Yunzhi couldn't complain anymore. What's more, when it came to this matter, how could she have imagined that Fu Runze would actually apologize to her? Okay, stop talking. Fu Runze also knew that Shen Yunzhi was thin-skinned, so he would stop teasing her now. It's still a long way there. Can the baby sleep for a while first? After saying that, Shen Yunzhi adjusted her posture and leaned against her. Shen Yunzhi was indeed sleepy at the moment, so she fell asleep directly in Fu Runze's arms. When he arrived at the Shen family, Fu Runze saw that Shen Yunzhi was still sleeping soundly, so he wanted her to sleep a little longer, so he asked the driver to get out of the car first. The Shen family had long known that Shen Yunzhi would be back today, and had been waiting and preparing to show off her power. Now Fu Runze didn't care what the Shen family thought. Why did his baby feel so wronged and asked to wait? It would be fine if he didn't let them provide for his baby. Fu Runze held Shen Yunzhi in the car until Shen Yunzhi finally woke up. Shen Yunzhi had just woken up and looked at Fu Runze with a hazy expression. A's, how long have I been sleeping? Just for a while. If you're still sleepy, just sleep for a while. It's still early. Fu Runze changed his position so that Shen Yunzhi could lean more comfortably. Shen Yunzhi turned on her phone and looked at the time. It was already close. The Shen family members must have gone crazy waiting at this moment. But even when he arrived at that so-called home, all he got was cynicism from that family. Forget it, she had to go back and face it anyway, not to mention she didn't want to embarrass her grandfather. A's, let's go. Fu Runze's hand has been holding Shen Yunzhi's hand tightly since he got off the car. Shen Yunzhi glanced at Fu Runze and read what he wanted to say from his eyes. I have everything. At this moment, Shen Yunzhi felt that she was not afraid of anything. It felt good to have someone to support her. As soon as she walked into the door of Shen's house, she heard the extremely unpleasant words of her cold-blooded father. That dead girl Shen Yunzhi hasn't come back yet? She doesn't take our Shen family seriously at all. She must be punished properly. Her good sister's mother was still fanning the flames. Husband, I think that although Yunzhi is usually arrogant and domineering and not as well behaved and sensible as Yanku, she is not someone who cannot understand the overall situation. Maybe she was delayed by something. Shen Yunzhi just wanted to laugh when he heard this. On the surface, this mistress-like woman was speaking for herself, but in fact, she was saying that Shen Yunzhi was not as good as Shen Yang. Fortunately, I have seen the faces of this family clearly. Although I still feel upset in my heart, I am no longer as sad as before. Okay, Xiaoyun is willing to come see me, an old man, because of his friendship with the Shen family. The only thing Mr. Shen couldn't worry about was his eldest granddaughter. Listening to her grandfather's words, Shen Yunzhi couldn't help but blush when she thought about her previous life in which her grandfather was the only one who cared deeply about her. Fu Runze, who was standing aside, naturally observed Shen Yunzhi's change in mood, and also understood the position of Mr. Shen in her heart. As for anyone else who dared to mess with her, he would definitely make Mr. Shen disappear in a minute. A's, come in. Fu Runze took her hand and walked into Shen's house. Grandpa, I'm here to see you. Shen Yunzhi pulled Fu Runze to Mr. Shen. Grandpa, this is my husband, Fu Runze. Fu Runze watched Shen Yunzhi solemnly introduce himself to her most important person, and his heart was filled with joy. Sister, what are you talking about? Don't you love Brother Zhou anymore? Shen Yang looked at Shen Yunzhi in disbelief. When everyone heard Shen Yang's words, there was suddenly a sense of embarrassment in the air. What a coincidence, Zhou showed up. Shen Yunzhi used her toes to think and figured out that Shen Yang must have called Zhou here. The purpose was to destroy her relationship with Fu Runze. She would never allow such a thing to happen. Originally, Shen Yunzhi wanted to cultivate a relationship with Fu Runze in the past 2 days. Now that all these annoying people are here today, why not just start tearing it apart? Anyway, since it really couldn't be over, she still had A's thigh to hug her. Grandpa, you must be tired after waiting for me for a long time. Why don't you go to the house to rest first, and we young people can handle our own affairs? Mr. Shen naturally understood what his granddaughter was thinking, and forced the Shen family to avoid it. What did my sister say? A's and I are both married. Is there any problem with me saying that he is my husband? As for Zhou, why are you still looking for a wife for him if you haven't already fallen out with him? Am I also part of your play? You young people are really having fun. Understand. Shen Yunzhi's smiling face almost froze. However, Shen Yang's eyes were erratic, as if she had been told something that was on her mind. Sister, what are you talking about? Brother Zhou and I have nothing. Seeing Shen Yunzhi's indifferent expression, Zhou also panicked at this moment. Yunzhi, did you misunderstand something? Or did Fu Runze force you to do something again? Shen Yunzhi felt Fu Runze holding her hand tighter and tighter, and she also understood that Fu Runze was still afraid. I don't want to talk nonsense with these two scum anymore. That's enough. What I mean is that I don't care what the relationship between you two is. I only love Fu Runze now. If you come to me again or play some clever tricks to sow discord between me and my husband, then you can try to go against Fu, and husband, you will help me, right? Shen Yunzhi held Fu Runze's hand tightly. Of course, whatever my wife says is whatever she says. Shen Yunzhi looked into Fu Runze's eyes and felt the strong love in his eyes. In this life, she will never let Fu Runze down again. Do you two understand? Please don't disturb my life and my husband's life again in the future. Shen Yunzhi pulled Fu Runze to her grandfather. Grandpa, let me introduce you again. This is my husband, Fu Runze. I love him very much. I love him the most and only him in my life. He is very good to me, you can rest assured. Seeing his granddaughter looking worthless, Mr. Shen really couldn't stand it. But of course he understood that this boy Fu Runze was really good to his granddaughter, otherwise he would not have agreed to hand over Shen Yunzhi to this boy in the first place. After hearing Shen Yunzhi's affectionate confession, Fu Runze immediately chose to express his stance. Grandpa, I will always be kind to Aji in my life. You can trust her to me. Looking at the sweet look of you two, Grandpa feels relieved. But Xiaoji, you have to understand that our Shen family is your backer. Speaking of the Shen family, Mr. Shen naturally understands his son's bastard behavior. At first, Shen Yunzhi's mother treated Shen Wanshan wholeheartedly. But Shen Wanshan was discovered to have cheated on Shen Yunzhi when he was 14 years old, and even had an illegitimate child only 1 year younger than Shen Yunzhi. This incident was a huge blow to Shen Yunzhi's mother. In addition, Shen Yang and her mother were acting like monsters, and their mother was actually forced to death by them. Thinking of this, Mr. Shen felt particularly sorry for Shen Yunzhi. But Shen Yang is also her granddaughter after all, so she can't do things too well. In the past few years, I have turned a blind eye. Grandpa, I appreciate your kindness. The Shen family's only concern for me is you. I want to make it clear today that since Shen Wanshan doesn't like me so much, I think the father-daughter relationship between me and him will end here. From now on, my only relative in the Shen family is my grandfather. If you want me, you can call me. I can take you out at any time. But I will never step into the Shen family again. Seeing Shen Yunzhi's decisive look, Mr. Shen understood that she had made up her mind and nothing he said could change her decision. But Shen Wanshan was unhappy when he heard these words. Seeing that Fu Runze valued Shen Yunzhi so much, he was still waiting to rely on Fu Runze for help. Now, if Shen Yunzhi breaks off the relationship with him, it won't cut off his wealth. Shen Yunzhi, what are you talking about? The blood relationship between you and me is a sure thing. How can you just cut it off? If word spreads, everyone will think you are an unfilial daughter. Looking at the corner of Shen Wanshan's mouth, she felt like vomiting. Let's see who dares to say it. Fu Runze looked at Shen Wanshan seriously. Shen Wanshan dared to say that his Aji was an unfilial daughter. Shen Wanshan probably didn't want to live anymore. Aji, I have everything. Fu Runze understood her situation and concerns, but he would be satisfied with whatever Shen Yunzhi wanted. As for someone chewing Shen Yunzhi's tongue, that means they don't want to live anymore. This family sucks Shen Yunzhi's blood like ordinary leeches. They should be sent to hell. Okay, A's, I understand your intentions. I don't care what others think. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Shen family. Let's go, I don't want to be here anymore. She understood that Fu Runze couldn't see her being bullied, but she hoped that his A's could be happy all the time and not make him angry because of such trivial matters. Let's go, the love of my life. Shen Yunzhi held Fu Runze's hand tightly and walked out of the Shen family's door. From now on, my only relative is Grandpa. Although Shen Yunzhi said she was not sad, there was still a bit of blockage in her heart. You still have me. Fu Runze looked at Shen Yunzhi and gently kissed her forehead. From now on, my family is your family, and I will always be your strongest support. Shen Yunzhi understood that he would do everything this man said. But Shen Yunzhi still felt guilty when he mentioned his parents. Fu Runze's parents were very kind to her in her previous life. Even though she didn't have any good feelings towards Fu Runze, the Fu family never felt sorry for her. A's, let's go back and see our parents when we have time. Perhaps he didn't expect Shen Yunzhi to say such words. Fu Runze was overjoyed at this moment. He seemed to be really sure of Shen Yunzhi's intentions. Okay, baby. Fu Runze took Shen Yunzhi to the Fu group. He held Shen Yunzhi's hand and did not even take the president's exclusive elevator, but chose the employee elevator. He walked 10 minutes for a distance that could obviously be walked in 1 minute. It made Shen Yunzhi suffer from embarrassment. After finally entering the president's office, he was still unwilling to let go of Shen Yunzhi, so he pulled her in and kissed her fiercely. Okay, now everyone knows about my relationship with you. Shen Yunzhi said shyly while taking advantage of her breath, I just want them to know so that no one will miss you. Besides, I don't want you to be wronged. Fu Runze reached out and touched Shen Yunzhi's face, and finally placed a kiss on her forehead. Are you sleepy? Why don't you go to my lounge and take a nap? Fu Runze was worried that Shen Yunzhi would be in a bad mood now, and he was worried that she didn't get enough rest. Okay, I'm not a kid anymore, you can go about your business. Shen Yunzhi naturally didn't want Fu Runze to revolve around her all the time. Shen Yunzhi walked around Fu Runze's office for a while and felt really bored, so she ran to the lounge to sleep. As soon as he fell asleep, he dreamed of Fu Runze coming to the warehouse to save him in his previous life. He watched Fu Runze shed tears, watched him become decadent, and watched him humbly love him. When Fu Runze finished his work and walked to the lounge, he saw that his little girl had her eyes closed and her brows furrowed, and she seemed to be muttering something. He moved closer to hear what Shen Yunzhi was saying. Fu Runze, I love you. Fu Runze, if given the chance, I will definitely love you well. While talking, she shed tears. Perhaps because he didn't expect that the little girl would confess her love to him in her dream, Fu Runze was stunned for a moment. But looking at the tears left by the little girl, he couldn't help but feel sad. The little girl must have had a nightmare, otherwise why would she cry so sadly? He must have made her sad in the dream. He stretched out his hand to hug Shen Yunzhi. Aji, wake up, are you having a nightmare? He had just woken up Shen Yunzhi, and Shen Yunzhi looked at the lost and found person in front of her and threw herself into his arms. A's, I really like you. Hearing the sobbing voice of the little girl speaking words of confession to himself, his heart suddenly melted. I know my baby likes me best. Let's stop crying, okay? When you cry, baby, my heart breaks. Stop crying, okay? Seeing Fu Runze hurriedly wiping his tears, Shen Yunzhi couldn't cry anymore. Yes, no matter what happened in her previous life, Fu Runze is standing in front of her now. This is already a gift from God to her. He said if he could meet her in the next life as long as he lived well. He succeeded. His little princess loved him with joy. Shen Yunzhi hugged Fu Runze's waist tightly and didn't feel relieved until she felt his true presence. The world in the dream is too painful and cruel. Her Ace is so good and deserves all her love. Baby, let's go home, okay? Fu Runze took her hand and waited for the little girl to sort out her emotions and say yes to him with a smile. Then he pulled her out of the office. So the scene from the previous few hours reappeared. A certain CEO held his little wife and walked for 10 minutes. He was afraid that others would not know that he was married, and that others would miss his wife. Shen Yunzhi naturally understood Fu Runze's little thoughts. Hey, although he was a CEO on the surface, he was probably only 3 years old in his heart. He was so cute. After getting home and having dinner, Fu Runze went to the study to work. Shen Yunzhi was also busy at this moment, but thinking about the dream in the afternoon, she was still worried that Gui Zhou and Shen Yan would do something excessive to Fu Runze. Now that she is reincarnated, she wants to avoid all risks that prevent her from being with Fu Runze. If a woman is not ruthless, her happiness will be unstable. Shen Yunzhi went directly into Fu Runze's study with a glass of milk. Ace, are you tired? Do you want to take a rest? She stretched out her hand to massage Fu Runze's head. Fu Runze felt her kindness at this moment, and he probably guessed what the little girl might have in mind. He turned slightly and put his arms around Shen Yunzhi's waist, holding the person on his lap. Seeing Shen Yunzhi's pure face after taking a shower and smelling the scent of shower gel on her body, Fu Runze no longer hesitated and kissed her directly on the lips. After the kiss ended, Shen Yunzhi hooked her hands around Fu Runze's neck and gasped slightly. Ace, I have something to tell you. I'm listening. When I think about Gui Zhou and Shen Yang, I feel uncomfortable all over. Especially when I think about how I regarded them as my relatives in the past, I feel even more stupid. Fu Runze didn't realize what Shen Yunzhi was talking about for a while. Shen Yunzhi didn't care about Fu Runze and continued talking. When I see them now, I feel like a fool. I don't want to see them again, and I don't want you to see them to affect your mood. Fu Runze understood now. Oh, the baby wants me to deal with them too, right? Yes, that's what I mean. Why aren't you pretending now? Why did you say so tactfully just now? Fu Runze did not expect that Shen Yunzhi would take the initiative to say that he would deal with those two scumbags. But even if Shen Yunzhi didn't say anything, he wouldn't let them have a good life. I got a baby, make sure to complete the mission. Is there any reward for the baby? Shen Yunzhi looked at Fu Runze's eyes full of desire and just wanted to escape from here. You haven't drank the milk I gave you yet. Your husband and I don't like drinking milk, but there is one that seems pretty good. Do you want to try it, baby? Shen Yunzhi really didn't understand what Fu Runze said at this moment. What? The baby will know later. The next morning, Fu Runze saw Shen Yunzhi awake and kissed her forehead. Aji, will you please come home with me to see your parents today? Shen Yunzhi was still in a daze at the moment, but when she heard that Fu Runze was talking to her, she immediately agreed. It was already noon when Shen Yunzhi woke up completely. Looking at the marks on his body, it was completely confirmed that Fu Runze was really a dog. However, Fu Runze seemed to have said something about meeting his parents when he was dazed, and he must be going back to Fu's house. She must behave well when she goes back this time. Although Fu Runze's parents are very open-minded and treat her well, she still wants to treat her parents-in-law well. When Shen Yunzhi went downstairs, she saw Fu Runze sitting at the dining table, waiting for her to eat. This time she stopped being coy and asked directly. Ace, are we going back to our old house later? Right. Then what kind of things do parents like? After hearing this, Fu Runze raised his head and glanced at Shen Yunzhi. Don't be nervous, I will be ready. As soon as you leave, they will be overjoyed. Although she heard Fu Runze say this, Shen Yunzhi was still a little nervous. After all, this was the first time she had met her parents-in-law since her rebirth, so her mentality was naturally different. It's tense. Sooner or later, an ugly daughter-in-law will meet her parents-in-law. Besides, it's not the first time you've met them. Who are you calling ugly? You are the ugly one. Although Shen Yunzhi, who was retorting at this moment, looked very cute, her tightly pursed lips betrayed her expression at this moment. I must have left a bad impression on them before. Fu Runze finally understood at this time. It turned out that this was what the little girl was worried about. The good impression has been lost a long time ago, and the bad impression has been deeply ingrained. What are you afraid of? If this guy can't speak, don't speak. Okay baby, they like you very much, don't worry about me. After listening to Fu Runze's words, Shen Yunzhi's heart calmed down inexplicably. She chose a beige dress today, looking cute and gentle. From the moment Fu Runze took her into Fu's house, she knew that she didn't need to worry about anything at all. Is Xiaoji here? Come here and let mom see if you have lost weight during this time. If this kid does anything bad to you, just tell mom. I will take care of him. At this moment, Lin Wani pulled her daughter-in-law around and felt satisfied. After hearing his mother's partial words, Fu Runze suddenly had the urge to go to the hospital for a DNA test. Dad, why don't we go play chess? Playing chess? Didn't you see your wife here? I can't bear to leave my wife for even a step, but you can't do that, son. After saying that, he hurried to find his wife. Okay, the reason why he was so manipulated by Shen Yunzhi was finally found. Genes are irreversible. He also felt that his mother had disturbed his time with his wife. Baby, are you tired? Shen Yunzhi suddenly had a pair of hands on her waist. At this moment, she felt that it was not in line with etiquette. He spoke in a small voice to Fu Runze. My parents are still watching, please take your hands away. Lin Wani noticed the little actions of the two. Oh, it seems that the news of the couple's quarrel is very false. His son wished he could stick to Xiaoji's body. Now she was completely relieved about her son. Before, they all knew that their son was wishful thinking, and they were always afraid that if they let them force themselves, both of them would suffer. Looking at Xiaoji at this moment, she should also be moved. Great, now she can finally reject those wealthy ladies. She has a daughter-in-law, and no one can change her official wife. Fu Runze looked up at his mother and knew what she was planning. It seems that his love is protected by someone, and it seems that his mother still has him as a son in her heart. Lin Wani really likes Shen Yunzhi, but she also wants to know more about Shen Yunzhi's inner thoughts. Xiaoji, take a walk with mom. Shen Yunzhi responded. It just so happened that she also wanted to know more about Fu Runze. Xiaoji, don't look at our ace who acts like he doesn't understand human feelings, but once he gets emotional, he will never let go. I really like you, kid, but I don't want to force you to do anything. Mom just wants to ask you what you think of Ace. Although she could feel Shen Yunzhi's changes in Fu Runze, she still didn't want her son to get hurt. Shen Yunzhi naturally understood what she was worried about. Mom, I couldn't see my heart clearly in the past, but now I can tell you with certainty that I love Fu Runze. Shen Yunzhi's voice revealed great determination, and her eyes were even more determined. After hearing Shen Yunzhi's words of assurance, Lin Wani was very willing to believe her. Let young people deal with their own affairs and face them by themselves. After getting the answer she wanted, Lin Wani now looked more pleasing to Shen Yunzhi. Shen Yunzhi naturally seized this opportunity and asked many questions about Fu Runze's childhood. But I really didn't expect that Mr. Fu would cry because his parents went on a trip without him. She thought it was funny when she thought about that scene. Fu Runze must be very cute when he cries. She wonders if there will be a chance to make him cry in the future. The happy time is always so short, and it was time for dinner as they talked. Looking at the pile of vegetables on his bowl as high as a hill, Shen Yunzhi instantly felt that the meal was not delicious at all. But Fu Runze didn't seem to notice it at all, and kept picking it out for her. The pain was in her stomach. Shen Yunzhi pulled Fu Runze's hand, indicating that he could stop. Okay Fu Runze, I can't eat so much. Real. Fu Runze stopped now. Baby, eat more. It will digest later. The more she heard this, the more ambiguous it became. Didn't she eat and digest normally every day? Seeing Shen Yunzhi looking at him in confusion, Fu Runze leaned close to her ear and said, you may get hungry if you exercise too much later. Can the baby eat more? When she heard this, her face instantly turned red. Did this bitch know where he was now? And he was talking so openly, she can't even look at these meals now. Naturally, the young couple's little flirting moves couldn't escape Lin Wanni's eyes. Seeing her son and daughter-in-law loving each other so lovingly, she was completely relieved. Xiaozhi, you are 23 years old this year, right? Seeing his old mother speak suddenly, Fu Runze couldn't figure out what she wanted to say. Yes, Mom. 23 is your youth. You and Ace can live your own two-person world without any pressure. Shen Yunzhi was confused when he heard this. Although we only have one son like Ace in our family, I will not push you to have children. When you are young, you should do what you want to do. Your body is your own, and you can do whatever you want. Besides, Ace, that guy definitely doesn't want you to suffer. Mom said all this just to tell you that two people will get better together. You don't have to feel pressure. It's best if our family is comfortable. As for those words about passing on the family lineage, that's just bullshit. Fu Ting listened to what his wife said and agreed very much. Then he thought about what Fu Runze told him about Shen Yunzhi's family affairs, and he felt even more sorry for her. Don't worry, Xiaozhi. You are A's wife and our daughter-in-law. No one can bully you. Our Fu family will support you. Shen Yunzhi didn't expect that they would say this to her, and she was already extremely moved at this moment. Come on, life is so cool when there are people who support and understand it. She has made a lot of money by meeting such nice parents-in-law.